Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Who we got in there first before we get started? Hey, Milani, hello. I would imagine everybody's going to pop up just like I do. Welcome to the Black Man Unfiltered Network, and we're going to have a good one for you guys tonight. And so we'll wait for some people to get off of work and get on this live stream, and let's talk a little politics. Hopefully I'm seeing we're trying something new here. So I finally graduated, so I have some control over the stream. So I hope I don't mess it up. So I'm sure can everybody hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Milani? You can hear me? Just put a 1 in the chat. Let me see, private chat. Okay, yeah, I see you, BM. You said I'm good. Okay, great. So let's just go from there. Let's just wait for some folks to come up. I guess if they start to put some comments in the chat, I'll see them, because I definitely don't see anybody else just yet. Yeah, I got you. Thank you, Milani. I see the 1. So as you see, the title of the show tonight is Liberalism versus Conservatism. But we're going to talk a little bit about which one is the best, which one is the most destructive to the Black community, specifically, and to Americans as a whole. So I think that the conversation needs to be had, and I think if people can open their minds, it might help them with the election coming up in November, and so we can make the right choices and maybe change some things in the United States. So that's the goal. At least that's one of my goals. All right. So who else? Hey, Take Heed. How you doing? Good evening. Good evening. Welcome aboard. And so listen, BMU, cut the leash. I'm gonna be able to put up some stuff on my own. So hopefully I don't mess up the whole daggone stream. I'm having a good time tonight. So hey, Curtis, how you doing? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome. One of the things I need to let everybody know tonight, I have a lot of videos I want to go through, and I got just a message to the madness. There's a lot of videos, and I want to go through them in succession, so I'm gonna have to try to juggle that and get people to come up and all that stuff at the same time you can, but you got to wait on my cue, because I have a sequence of order I want to go through, and some of the videos are short, but what they do is, instead of me saying some things, I'd rather you hear what I'm thinking from some people that you might trust. Some people who've been out in the political world a little bit longer, and they give you some insights on some of the stuff that's being said today has been said for the last 50 years. All right. So again, so the full title to this show really is, who's more destructive to the Black community, or what ideology is more destructive to the Black community, liberalism or conservatism? And I don't know how many people actually think about that. I know for a lot of years, as a black man growing up in a regular, typical Black family, we're all told to just vote Democrat regardless. Now I'm wondering how we got there. So I'm not. There's a lot of ways we got reasons for why we got there. I'm just saying, for almost 90-something% of Black people to vote Democrat, you have to start to think, what kind of programming has been done to us to make us, just so beholden to one party? And I don't think people think about that enough. How did we get so beholden to one party like that? What kind of programming was done to us that took us from the Democrats having us in chains, physical chains during slavery, and they were Democrats, by the way, to the fact that now we're in mental chains when we got the right to vote. And we're voting for the same people who enslaved us. And so now we're enslaved mentally, right? With being told how to vote, who to vote for, and if you don't vote, if you're a man, they Actually, they challenge your manhood, right? We got these Django Calvinites like Ricky Smiley and D.L. Hughley, Roland Martin, all these guys crying Calvin and saying all of these things about black men who decide that Calvin! Exactly. I call them Django Calvinites. We got a lot of those guys, man. You know, so hey, Catalia, how you doing? Uh, Braxton, the snake, the snake fiend. That's great. Anyway, so what I want you to do as we go through some of these videos, kind of think, how did you get to come to the conclusion of who you want to vote for and why? And the reason why, at 66 years old, I don't feel like I'm treading any new ground. I'm saying, how could I have been so stupid for so long? You know what I'm saying? For 40 something years, I've been voting for Democrats. I mean, a couple of times in there, I vote for a Republican here and there. But I'm saying, wow, how could you be such an idiot for that long? And so somewhere around 2020, when I started thinking about all the damage that Biden has done, and I started to think to myself, why are black people giving this dude a pass? I mean, there's so many receipts of his hatred and contempt for black people, and nobody wants to speak about it. I don't have to rehash what he did. And then, unbridled contempt and hatred for Trump, who as a private citizen came out against the Central Park Five, who, for all he knew, actually admitted to a crime that they didn't commit. But as a private citizen, he didn't have the reach on the black community the way Biden did. Biden made United States law, putting black men in jail in a big, in mass incarceration. Biden and his ilk were behind making crack cocaine a much more lengthy jail time than powdered cocaine. Biden was a part of that. And I don't see how the hell we voted him in 2020. Nobody talked about it. None of those Calvinites that should have been smarter, Ricky Smiley, who's telling black men to just vote for the hyena just because she's a woman. I mean, why are we asking for her policies? Can you imagine a person with a platform like that telling black folks, black men in particular, don't ask her any questions. Just vote for her. Right? I mean, his every card that he has should be revoked. That's the most idiotic thing I heard in the world. Let her tell us why we should vote for her. Trump has been all around the place telling us why we should vote for him. And he's like the most, the media's against him. Even, and he's still out there on the stump. She's afraid and being hidden from everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and first, let's talk about what's the difference between liberalism and conservatism. And I was going to give you a definition, but I got this little video clip that I want to show you. And then I'm going to share it, and you guys can tell me. And I'm experimenting on you because it's the first time I actually have the controls. So let's see how this works. All right. All right. So let me do this. Just bear with me. Oh my God. Don't be Calviniting me, man. All right. Can everybody see this? Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you can see what I just showed you. Yes, yes, yes. Anybody? Can you see it? Can you see it?
When it comes to the social elements of the state, the two major ideologies that philosophers focus on are conservatism and liberalism. Conservatism is associated with beliefs that a country or state should hold tradition and custom as the most important aspects of their society. Conservatives do not like the idea of social change unless it is absolutely necessary. Conservatism basically favors long standing traditions of culture, religious beliefs, or national.
I see.
Conservatism carries patriotism for the nation state and believes that our belonging to a nation with a history of beliefs and culture brings us and the people in our nation closer together. Our national identity, our social structures, norms, values have been built up over thousands of years through many generations to shape us and make us who we are, and conservatism believes this should be preserved and protected.
Yes, I understand. However, in the last century or so, we've seen radical social changes across the Western world. The whole world, in fact. As human beings, we're a creature that is always changing. We're learning, we're evolving. So, of course, there are going to be social changes because we as people are always changing.
Okay, but conservatism isn't against change completely, but rather it believes this change should be a slow or gradual process. It could be referred to as organic change. Conservatives understand there is a social change, but would like to control it and ease it in piece by piece so as to not disturb the wider web of society. It doesn't believe in radical change or any form of revolutionary change in a society.
Well, there has been radical change and revolutionary change in many parts of the world, and a lot of this has been beneficial. Conservatism is concerned with social culture, but there have been many cultures of oppression and subjugation around the world, and conservatives would argue that this still needs to be protected. It is because of this that I favor liberalism. Liberalism is based on the political philosophy centered around the individual. The individual should have as much personal freedom as possible, providing their freedom does not affect anyone else other than the individual. So for liberals, tradition and culture and custom are not important at all, and they see no value in upholding these. It is just down to what the individual wants, how the individual wishes to.
All right, so let me just stop that again. I want you folks to listen to what he said about a liberal. I'm gonna go backwards a little bit and listen to what he said about the benefits of liberalism to him, and think about where we are in America and where we are in the West.
And
Hey,
custom
do me a favor, Payne. Pause for a second.
no value.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go to your volume right there on your video. The
Oh,
volume.
yeah, I see it.
Turn it up. There you go. Turn it all the way up. There you go. All right, here we go. Go ahead.
Okay, let me go back a little bit. Everybody out there, we'll get it together.
Not important at all, and they see no value in upholding these. It is just down to what the individual wants, how the individual affect anyone else, providing their freedom does not affect anyone else other than the individual. So for liberals, tradition and culture and custom are not important at all, and they see no value in upholding these. It is just down to what the individual wants, how the individual wishes to act or to dress or to live. It's all about personal freedom and giving each person the most amount of freedom possible.
Interesting.
In the last century or so, liberalism has really taken over in the Western world and shaped our beliefs of toleration and respect for all human beings, no matter how different they are.
Yes, okay, but liberalism does run into its own problems. If too much emphasis is put on personal freedom, nation states may find themselves in a situation where all their citizens are completely different, where there is no national culture or common beliefs. Too much differentiation can break down our sense of community, togetherness, our sense of being one. We are then left with a nation of lots of individuals, but no unity or common beliefs or culture.
Yes, I see the argument.
All right, so listen, I mean, this is exactly where we are, right? Unbridled, liberalism, just there's a battle going on between whatever our culture was before and liberalism now, and liberalism is kicking culture's ass, right? I mean, we see that unfettered liberalism is destructive to a society. At least that's from my perspective. And one of the things that I think we miss is that in our country, the only thing that we're really supposedly promised is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that was in the Declaration of Independence. And unfortunately, isn't completely written directly into the Bill of Rights. But that's, I guess, widely sort of as the way we live our lives. The issue we have with individualism, and depending on how strong your mafia is that the individual rights or a group's rights, like, the alphabet mafia, they don't just want their own rights. They want to infringe on yours as well. And that's why we get into these battles, right? When Black people wanted freedom in the United States, we just wanted to be able to rent a home, buy a home, get a job, get a loan. We didn't ask people to say, start licking the black skin, color off our skin with their tongues. We didn't ask them to do any of that. We just said, hey, listen, we want the same freedoms that everybody else has. Whereas the alphabet mafia says, not only do we want freedom, we want you to force other people to accept our pronouns, to accept the way we live, to put men in female spaces, to do all kinds of crazy shit that impinges upon somebody else's rights, right? So that's the difference. That's the battle of ideologies that we're in. So, so liberalism in and itself is not completely, everybody has a little bit of liberalism in them in terms of whether it's social liberalism, maybe some fiscal liberalism, some kind of stuff where we want people to have the right to pursue the happiness based on their own potential. But what's being practiced now is completely different than that. And that's what Kamala Harris and the California liberals are talking about. Taking away the rights of parents from knowing what their kids are doing in school. You just sort of, and we're going to get to this. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the Black folks in the Democratic Assembly in California wouldn't even bring the reparations bill to the floor. But however, they didn't stop the bill to get signed by, I don't know if he signed it yet, but the bill to give illegal aliens, illegal immigrants, up to $150,000 to buy homes, tax-free, on the backs of the taxpayer. These are the Democrats you want to put back in office. I mean, it's just crazy, So anyway, let's let me take this down and kind of just keep going for a second. So, I don't know where a lot of people stand, but I have a lot of issues with the way things are going with American culture. Our culture and American culture in general is dying. And Black culture is completely just ratchet, right? Because what our culture has been devolved into is ratchet rap music by men and completely hoe culture by the women. And that stuff is what gets projected around the whole world. So when people see Black people, they see the worst of us because that's being plastered all over the place. So the laws in our society, the social structure and the laws of our society is anti-family. Everybody knows that. We're incentivized to be individuals, so marriage is out, right? And you get one, and we can thank no-fault divorce for that. And for all the reasons of no-fault divorce, those reasons are gone, right? So that's been a big bane on society. What else is there? Biological, right? But even our biology is under attack. What we used to know as true, and still is scientifically, that there's only two genders, male and female, men and women, XX, XY for men, XX for women. And since there's 8 to 10 billion people in the world, every so often you have an anomaly where somebody's born hermaphroditic or hermaphroditic, whatever you call it. But that shouldn't change the way we view male and female, right? So even if it was 1% of a percent, when you're talking about 10 billion, that can still seem like a large number. But the truth of the matter is, just a question I have to everybody. Have you really thought about how the hell did we as Black people become so beholden to the Democratic Party? What was it tells you that the programming was so strong and our leaders were in the bag so much that we went from, like I said before, physical change to mental change. And that's where we are right now. So what else is there? So here's a couple of things between liberals and liberal Democrats and conservatives, Republicans, that is a wash, right? It's a class warfare system. So the white elites who belong to, and the Black ones who belong to liberals, or the ones who belong to the conservative Republicans, they all go to the same club, right? It's a class war against everybody in the middle, and both the elite on the left and the elite on the right, they both eat from the same goddamn buffet. That's the backs of the middle class. They both do. So that's a wash. So whether you vote for Harris or you vote for Trump or anybody in between, except maybe Joe Stein, you're voting for, people who, say different things, but they go to the same parties at night. The other thing that's unhealthy and irrational is all of our politicians are tethered to Israel. There's no daylight between Republicans or Democrats when it comes to Israel, though. We're giving them money without any strings attached. And we need to get to the bottom of that, because I don't have any issue having allies. But if we're giving them money, they damn sure should be answering some questions, and they should be beholden to what we want from them for that kind of cash. That's what I think. But there's no daylight between the Republicans or the Democrats there. They both are in the pockets at APEC. And so we can't really discriminate in terms of who we vote for based on Israel or based on class. So those things are a wash. Right. So one of the things I'm thinking, I've thought this before, is about independence. I think we should have an independent party. Not you only have a two-party system. You can't do that. Well, that's not really true. The only problem is what we need to do as I'm going to say Black men, we could do something really great. And I'm going to say this again. If we really find a way to ensure or to promote the Democrats losing in every swing state where they lose the electoral college and they get kicked out of power, and everybody knows it's us as Black men, I think we'll be making a statement. I really do. I think that kind of statement will be powerful. It'll be really powerful. Hey, good evening, Embrace the Grace. How you doing? Because, I'm just thinking, as Black men, when's the last time we did anything on that magnitude of a scale to say, yeah, it's us and we want social change. We want to be a part of the process, whatever, going forward. And in order for that to happen, we got to break the demonic hold that the Democrats have on our women and a lot of our men. And more men are standing up saying, you know what, we don't care what the Ricky Smileys say. We don't care what the D.L. Hughley say or the Michael Eric Dyson. All of those Django Calvinites. We don't care what Steve Harvey says, and I'm going to get to that too in my next couple of videos, and I'm going to go to that next. We want to stand up and say, you know what, this far and no further. And if we could break the backs of the Democrats and they know it's us and they try to come after us, and we don't have to cower. We don't have to apologize. We said, you know what, we're tired of not getting anything out of our political votes. I know I am, and it took me most of my lifetime to come to that realization. So if I've been an idiot for 40-something years, I'm doing you a favor, because you don't have to do it for 40-something years. If you're in your 20s, you should be voting with an open mind from now on. If you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, it's not too late. Because if it's not too late for me at 66, it's not too late for you either. So somebody said, who said it might as well be my saying, it's not a bad thing for a revelation to come late as long as it comes. You know, as long as you get a revelation at some point in your life, the Democrats must go down, man. They must go down. They're destroying our country, the fabric of whatever we have left. And if you look at the Black communities, and don't take my word for it, do some research. Look at the Black communities in every blue state and then every blue city with Black mayors, male or female, unfettered immigration, tax dollars, crime. What you know, Eric Adams is under FBI investigation. All these people are being, you know, they're raiding their homes, right? If you look at San Francisco or Oakland, it's almost bankrupt. You know, it's just a mess. California is a mess. Every blue state, every blue city is a damn mess. You know, so anyway, so that's just something to look at. So let's go to the next video. I got another video for you guys. All right, so here goes. All right, so hold on. I'm going to play this other video for you. And it's Malcolm X, so it's no secret there. I want you to hear through Malcolm X's own words what he thought about liberals and conservatives.
In this crooked game of power politics here in America, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issue, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power. Among whites here in America, the political teams are no longer divided into Democrats and Republicans. The whites who are now struggling for control of the American political throne are divided into liberal and conservative camps. The white liberals from both parties cross party lines to work together toward the same goal, and white conservatives from both parties do likewise. The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leaders who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gains, token progress. In the New York Tribune, in an editorial dated February the 5th, 1960, they pointed out that out of 11 million qualified Negro voters, only 2,700,000 actually take time to vote. This means that, roughly speaking, only 3 million out of the 11 million Negroes who are qualified to vote take an active part, and the remaining 8 million remain voluntarily inactive. And yet it is this small minority, the 3 million Negro voters, who help determine who will be the next president. If who will be the next president can be influenced by 3 million Negro voters, it is easy to see why the presidential candidates of both political parties put on such a false show with the Civil Rights Bill and promises of integration. They must impress the 3 million voting Negroes who are the actual integration seekers. And if so much fuss is made over these 3 million integration seekers, what would the presidential candidates have to do to appease the 8 million non-voting Negroes
let me stop it right there for all of you guys. And this is kind of what I was alluding to before. What do we have to do to actually be heard and get what we want out of our votes? And the majority of, I think the kind of ratio of who votes and who doesn't vote in the Black community is probably pretty much still the same. I know of a lot of people who are going to stay home from the polls. But the truth of the matter, what's changed from his time to our time is not really much, right? The liberal Democrat is the wolf in sheep's clothing. I like to liken it to a Trojan horse. A Trojan horse, and everybody knows the story of Troy, when they let the Trojan horse in and the soldiers came out of the horse and, took over Troy. It's a fictional account, but just think about this. It's talking about a wolf in sheep's clothing could lie in wait, play the long game, right? So if we're talking about a Trojan horse, they had like 50 men trapped in a big wooden horse. They were shitting and pissing and stinking on each other just for the chance to get behind those gates of Troy so they can take over the place. Can you imagine the being in those confined quarters for maybe weeks, right? When they went up to the gates of Troy, they didn't just open the gates. That damn thing sat out there for some unknown period of time. But this is how bad those guys wanted to be able to destroy Troy, that they were willing to sacrifice anything for the long game. And that's what the Democrats have done to us, right? We're constant victims. Constant reminder that we're less than and that we need their help, and the orange man is bad and the conservative white is somehow more evil than the democratic white, and all in the same backdrop of having Joe the racist Biden as president right in front of our faces, and then the Django Calvinites reinforcing the grift by trying to shame Black men. And this is what, the one thing about Black men, we're too easily shamed. Women shame us. The Django Calvinites shame us. And I think they shame us into changing our mind to get on off our square all too easily. They had a woman come on and shame Cam Newton and Nick Cannon for being free men who wouldn't marry any woman so they can lose half their wealth, but they wanted to have children, so they did it on their terms, right? And so this is just a segue of how, and every other woman I know has some kind of smoke for Cam Newton and for Nick Cannon, but I don't see no smoke like that for just the average woman giving babies to Pookies and Ray Rays. So, yeah, that's right. And she had no man. And you know what? Here's the other thing with the chick. When she was talking to Cam Newton, her tits were pretty much falling out of her dress while she's talking to him, telling him that he's so low value. You know what? Men should stop allowing people to gaslight us, especially Black men. So getting back to the political thing, we don't give a shit what Ricky Smiley says or Steve Harvey, Michael Eric Dyson, Lamont, whatever his name is, crying ass Van Jones, all of these assholes who sold us down the river, bobblehead Al Sharpton, none of these guys, none of them. We need to ensure that we destroy the Democrats on November 5th. That's what we need to do. We need to make a statement. And no amount of woman should be able to tell you not to do it because they want to vote for a woman with brown skin and don't care about her policies. This is the most stupid shit I've ever heard. It's time for that kind of stuff to stop. Anyway, so what? I have another one from Malcolm X in terms of the grift and the propaganda that gets us almost every time. So here's another one. So let me just stop sharing this one. And I'm going to show you another one real quick. I'm going to just go through these because we have a few. But Let me, I stopped it there so we don't have to get ahead of ourselves. All right.
Concerning the poll taken by Newsweek magazine, I think you said that this was the leaders who said that, who went with King and against Mr. Muhammad around 90%. I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. And it is an honor, actually, that they endorsed Dr. Martin Luther King. And
I just wanted you to hear that part. So this is Malcolm X saying what we already know. And this the gate. Listen, the thing that has to be obvious to everybody. Our Payne isn't making this shit up. How many commercials? How many not commercials, but how many different shows have we seen those same celebrities? You know, different names, but the same position. Celebrities telling us who to vote for. And why, and not even why, just do it because they're black. I mean, how long are we going to keep that childish choice as a whole community at the forefront, not asking for anything in return? Ice Cube said, hey, listen, how about we make the Democrats and the Republicans vie for our votes with his plan? Well, you might not like Ice Cube, but he was trying to do something assertive. And guess who shot him down? Black women. What's in it for us? Not what's in it for the community. Not what's in it. I mean, I don't want to get on black women, but you're being used as a conduit for all kinds of fuckery, man. You know, so and then the sycophantic black men who come behind you, who don't have any problem holding on to your dress aprons and just doing what you guys say. That's not the natural order of things. It's not. It never will be. And that's why we're in such a chaotic position we're in right now. Because the men ain't standing up and just saying, you know what, kind of shut the fuck up, okay? I'm doing what I want to do because we need to take back what's rightfully ours. That's what we need to do. And we may lose a lot of people by doing that. When I say lose friends, you know, people just divest from you, whatever the hell it might be. But I think we need to move forward as men. I'm not a tough guy, but, you know, at least, you know, my eyes have been open. And I've always been my own kind of guy. And I think that's helped me get to where I'm at now because the only thing I can't take back how stupid I was with the Democrats. You know, it's no way I can take that back. There's no way I can take that back. You know, but for a long time, I haven't been afraid of white people because I've had to exist in their world. And that's why I'm trying to say, I don't know why I was so slow in my revelation. I went to where I worked, where I went to school, what I had to do to compete. I was always competing against white people. Always. You know? And I think I did okay for myself. So that showed me that we didn't have anything to fear but fear itself. Because most of you guys out there who are black, that's who you're competing against. And if you could feed your family and you could send your kids to school and you could buy your house and you're living a decent life, you've competed with white people and won. We don't talk about that enough to each other. And it's not the white people who's our competition, it's ourselves. Really, if you look at it, it's how much what you have on the inside, because it's really not the other guy, it's you. You got a dream, follow it. So what else do we have here? So I don't know if anybody has a question for me, you can just put it in the chat. So here's my thing. Western society is on a I guess a collision course with hell right now because of liberalism. Liberalism somehow, the way it's being practiced in the West, is anti-God. It really is, if you think about it, because it goes against all traditions. And the biggest tradition that it goes against is religion. They don't want any religion in school. We can't even say Merry Christmas anymore. You can't say, you can't do anything without some kind of reprisal that has any religious overtones. I'm not overly religious, but a lot of people squirm when you invoke God's name. So there's a lot of things that liberalism has taken advantage of. Well, the birth control pill was one. The rise of radical feminism was another one. The rise of single parent households is being championed by women like Ebony K. Williams and a whole lot of other women who have means, and they give bad information to women who don't. No fault divorce, I think, is a liberal thing. Started in California, spread across the country. Same-sex marriage, well, I think that's like a gateway drug. Because I didn't have any real problem with somebody who wanted to be married who was the same sex, but it didn't stop there, right? It grew into the alphabet mafia. And then the alphabet mafia got political power, and then they tried to destroy Title IX. Now, I'm old enough to understand 50 years ago how hard women, women with vaginas, fought for Title IX. Gave you scholarships, gave you equal footing in schools, gave you the baseline for all the success you have today, especially you college educated women, right? Title IX was big, scholarships and everything. Now we have men who are trying to invade that space, and guess who's the champion for to destroy Title IX? Women, Black women. All women, a lot of women, but every time they want to talk about the alphabet mafia, it's a Black woman who's the spokesman. We even got a Black woman who couldn't define what a woman is on the Supreme Court. Guess what kind of ruling she's going to put out there, right? So, I don't know. I just think this, once you see it, you can't unsee it. All right, so let me just go. I got so many videos. I'm going to just go to the next one. How about that? Let me just keep going. I just want you guys, because it's kind of telling you a story. The next one is Malcolm X again, right? We got another one from Malcolm. Right, I'm going to just put that there. Hold on for a second. And I want y'all to hear this one. Because with all the bad things happen from unbridled liberalism, we got one more from him. And I think you guys will be familiar with this quote.
Max, you were involved in a controversy some months ago with your leader. Is that over?
Well, I've been silent for the past 90 days because of some statements I made concerning the President of the United States, which were distorted.
They were distorted.
And yes.
What did you say, Malcolm?
Well, I said the same thing that everybody says, that his assassination was the result of the climate of hate. But only I said the chickens came home to roost, and which means the same thing. Climate of hate means that this is the result of something. And when I said chickens coming home to roost, I said the same thing.
But you did not say that you were glad the president was killed.
No, that's what the press said. What would I look like saying that I'm glad the president was killed?
Malcolm,
let me stop it right there. So I just want y'all to hear the quote, where it came from and why. And the reason why I put that up there, what's up, Laws? How you doing, man? The reason why I put that, can you hear me? Lost in translation? You didn't say anything. I can't hear you, but I know I clicked you. But anyway, so listen, the reason why I put that up there is because with all the things that liberalism is doing to us, at some point the bill will have to get paid. The chickens will come home to roost. And I'm saying after November 5th, if we put the wrong person in the White House, all the dastardly shit that's going on in California could spread across the country. Think about it. Now, because California has been a gateway drug for bad policy across the country before, and no fault divorce It's one of the biggest ones. It's pretty much destroyed marriage as we know it. And if you think about it, New Jersey was the last state to pass no-fault divorce. That was 2007. So it won't happen overnight. So so all I'm just trying to say, these things spread, bad policies spread, right? The unfettered immigration. You think Kamala is going to get in there and all of a sudden become a border czar? No. They're building their new base on your tax dollars, right? Because these guys will have those, $13,000 a month of EBT and cash. You ain't getting that. They're getting loans for homes. You ain't getting that. They're getting training for those low-level jobs. You ain't getting that. They're staying in, 5-star hotels on the government's dime. You're not getting that. I mean, how you're being replaced. You're just being replaced. And we're sitting down here looking at Ricky Smiley cry into the camera telling us, why do we need to know what she stands for? She has brown skin. So just vote for her. I don't know. I mean, even if you still vote for her with your eyes open, I mean, I can, it doesn't matter whether I live with it or not. At least that's something. You vote for her just based on some idiot like Ricky Smiley saying, just do it because she's a woman or because she has brown skin. I mean, that's too much is at stake. We got wars coming up. We got some bad guys out there to deal with. And you think she could laugh her way out of that? She can't. She can't. Can you imagine a 5'4" woman up against Putin and the dude from? I mean, these guys are killers. So anyway, so it's just hey, Miss Bella, everybody, listen. All I'm just trying to say is just think about it. Just think about it. I mean, I got some more for you. I do have some more. So I'm gonna just keep going because I'm trying to go through some of the things that we see every day, but we're not really paying attention to. For example, as far as men out there, we already know, but we need to have it solidified. There's an absolute war on men. First of all, white men, there's been a war on them. Disney will tell you everything you know about the war on white men. But there's a war on black men too, right? That's what those Django whites are trying to tell us. We have a guy like Steve Harvey telling us, the kind of bullshit he's talking about with his horrible marriage advice, and now his horrible advice for who to vote for. We have Bobblehead Sharpton, who at one point I thought was okay until he completely sold out. And but anyway, I'm gonna just show you this next one. The next video I'm gonna show you, and we're just gonna step through these things, is my man Anton Daniels and the war on men. It's a short little clip. It's not that long, so let's just see what he has to say. Let me get to the right time stamp. Hold on for a second. Bear with me.
Got to say in her full context, because she was cooking. She was absolutely cooking.
I feel like nobody's paying attention to the fact that there's currently a war on traditional family values in America and a war on men. The left, liberal women are like, let's snuff men out. Let's feminize men. Let's tell men they're not men. We can be men and we don't need you. And traditional family values, oh, here's a war against that. What is a family? A family can be whatever you want it to be. It's back to, we don't need men. That's why when you look at the culture on the left, you have more violence, you have more crime, you don't have men in the homes.
Facts.
You have lower rates of marriage. Those values are not important to them, and they are literally purposely seeping them and infusing them into America, into the American value system. All you gotta do is turn the TV on and you can see it. Trust me, it's a war on men and a war on family. By the way, this isn't a new war. This war started in the 70s. It's just that now we can see all the work that's been done. And unless we do something now, everything we know as far as family will be no more.
And that's a fact. And she's 100% right. And it was one of the reasons, again, and you guys have heard me say this 1,000 times, where I contemplated not even having a child in the first place. Because it's almost like, why would I bring a child into this evil world? You know what I'm saying? And it's going so bad. And we have no values to where, men can become girls and we supposed to force ourselves to identify with them against our regular natural instincts to just say, oh no, wait a minute, a biological male is a male and a biological female is a female. But now we playing God and we've completely changed the terms of what is and what isn't. Now it's what you identify as. You can be anything you want to be. Guys are playing a women's sports. And again, I'm reluctant to fight the good fight because I almost think that it needs to be a reset because the culture is so trash. And I've always said that the culture is trash. People pushed against it because they wanted me to play PC and identity politics and get on code and all of that. And I'm not. The only code that I'm on is the code that goes along with what my values say. And so, again,
let me stop it right there for you. All right. So I'm going to go over to Anton. I forgot. I haven't mentioned Roland Martin. He's at the top of the list, too. He's a clown. So hold on for a second. Let me just check a couple of things out. Okay. All right. So I'm having some. I'm trying to learn as I go with some of these things, but it's cool. I guess I could.
Because this is about modern masculinity.
Yes.
Yeah. And in the Democratic Party, the coach that is saying that it's important for him as the football coach to be the faculty, partner for the LGBTQ
Gay
club,
Straight Alliance.
The Gay Straight Alliance. And he's like, that's something important for me to do because if a coach is doing it, it's going to have just a little more salience, right? And it's going to help kids not get bullied. I mean, what's really been fascinating is to watch the men of the Democratic Party model a kind of masculinity that is simply 21st century masculinity.
Masculinity. How about that?
That is a setup.
That'll lead in. We got Senator Cory Booker.
Oh man, let me stop that. Listen, I'm sorry. I just wanted to take, you know what? But again, there's a couple of clips on that too. I don't know if you put that up there yourself, BMU, but those are the same kind of clips that I have as well. They had a clip of Waltz and his son crying like a baby. And they talking about that's the new kind of masculinity and all, So now, not only are they trying to take they're trying to define what a man is through this one, be ashamed of being a masculine man and be more feminine so, they can control you better, right? That's one of the, again, I keep coming back to Cam and Nick Cannon. The reason why women hate them, because they can't control them. They can't control them, right? And one of the biggest things that makes me mad is they try to minimize the fact that these guys are using their money as an extension of their support for their families. It might be multiple women, Isaiah 4, chapter 1, but the fact is they're trying to minimize their money, but if a man is broke, they maximize the fact that he's broke. We got to stop letting people gaslight us or not. Make up your mind. Does money matter or not? If it matters and I got it, I can take care of my kids in multiple areas with multiple women, as long as those women ain't thing. One of the things about men being in the home is that's a new phenomenon. Because the way men had to work before, they would be going for months sometimes just to bring home money for their family, and the wives held down the fort while they were out there. They weren't these pampered ass chicks thinking a man needs to be around every day so they can put their hands on him, right? The CDC says involved father is just as good as a single mother. They didn't say he had to be up under his kids all the time. That's impossible for a man on his ground to do. It's impossible. You just got to be there when you need him. So, we got to, as men, we got to stop being gaslit by everybody. This, we just got to stop. Stop apologizing. Stop being gaslit. If I was a multimillionaire and I was that kind of guy, I would have as many women as I feel like, and everybody else can kiss my ass, as long as I'm taking care of my children. But I don't want to go down that thing. But it's still, women in general want to control men, but the Democratic Party doesn't only want to control us; they want to deball us. They want to take our balls off. We can't live like that. We just can't. So that's just my philosophy. You guys out there, y'all can feel the way y'all want to feel. So there's a couple other things. I'm just keeping going. California, we know what the laws are there. We saw what they did with the reparations. Right here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, we talked about reparations. I'm not necessarily for them, but the Black Assembly in California spit in the face of all the Black people, thinking they would at least get a commission on reparations signed by the governor. And they didn't do that. In that same assembly, they passed up to $150,000 per illegal alien to be able to buy homes. This is your Democratic Party. They have a super majority in California. So even the Republicans can't stop anything they're doing. Right? Nobody's talking about the 2 buildings that they built for the homeless at $600,000 an apartment. Your tax dollars. I mean, maybe the Republicans ain't no better, but at least I don't know what they spend their money on, but it's not just giving it away like that. And if you believe in the definitions of conservatism, they have some type of reverence for order as opposed to chaos and anything goes. So we got to pick our poison. The devil we know, or the wolf in sheep's clothing. This is what's that? I have another one for you. Okay, I do. We're gonna go through a lot of these. We're gonna go through one more. We're gonna go through a few more. So just bear with me. Anybody who's still here, I just got some more for you. I just want y'all to see what's going on, what your liberals are doing to our country. And you know what? Okay, did I start by telling you guys I'm biased? I am. Somebody mentioned Roland Martin.
Doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden,
For me, the Democratic Party emasculates Black men. And I think Hispanic men probably feel the same way. And I say this because they weaponize identity.
I understand Zesty Rolanda Martin, who I got kicked off of News One Now for hating. His views dropped and he got dropped. Zesty Rolanda fell off after he tried to come for the Prince of Pan-Africanism. His views dropped and News One Now dropped that receding hairline, no neck Negro. I'ma deal with Zesty Rolanda. I'ma deal with that Democratic Party plantation slave driver.
Dr. Umar was calling Roland Zesty a long time ago. Well, it looks like that's been confirmed. Angela Stanton put everybody on alert after Roland made a mistake on his live stream and exposed himself. He was on a Labor Day stream from his personal laptop, and after playing a clip of Kamala's CNN interview, he made a mistake and showed another clip that was on his computer of a man with no clothes on, that man's behind fully exposed. Angela Stanton recorded that clip before Roland was able to edit it out, and she wrote this right here. She said, Democrat Roland Martin forgot to edit this clip. We were all forced to watch his love and admiration for Black male behinds as they casually scrolled across the screen. I told y'all in a post I wrote a few weeks back that 90% of the men I know that still represent or support the Democrat Party are gay. Watch how mad he gets when he finds out it aired. How much more proof do you need? It's time to save our men and boys. So Angela, she posted that. I won't be showing that video here, but if you want to see it for whatever reason, the link is below. Now, it definitely wasn't lost on me that almost all of the Black Democrat defense team, if they're male, they come off very feminine. They talk like females, their mindset is like a female, and that's who the Democrats keep pushing in front of us to tell us what to do. These feminine men like Roland Martin, Bakari Sellout, Van Jones, Don Lemon, Ricky Smiley, D.L. Hughley, and any other Black man they prop up to supposedly represent the Black community or be the pretend leader. He's either flaming hot like Billy Porter or undercover flaming like Andrew Gillum. It's always one or the other. For years now, the Democrat Party made a major push for strong, independent women to lead the party and to be followed by docile, emasculated men like Van Jones and Roland Martin. They want to take women's femininity away and everything that comes with womanhood and give that to men. You know, like Tim Walz putting tampons in the boys' bathrooms in his state. The Democrats are attempting to redefine masculinity as they target and destroy any sign of manhood in men.
There has been a lot of talk about masculinity and MAGAism trying to own masculinity in the most regressive sort of misogynist way possible. J.D. Vance lecturing everybody on, you know, what a family means, what it means to be a man. Donald Trump obviously has his own version of manhood. To see Tim Walz out there as a man who is just joyfully embracing his role as the potential vice president to the nation's first female president is an extraordinary thing. But also to see his son weeping for his father in a deeply tender and emotional way. And then the last thing I'll say, because I think this hasn't been talked about enough, to see Democrats champion men as voices on reproductive choice.
Yeah.
Okay, enough for this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Enough. You know, hey, fellas, how can we, you know, I can't take it anymore. I mean, how can we really take it, man? It's just crazy. Are we gonna announce? See, can you imagine 4 more years of no breaks? I mean, absolutely no breaks on unfettered liberalism. 4 more years. No culture, no religion, no governors, no shame, continued emasculation of men, the Disney effect on all the movies. And listen, am I the only one? I watch a lot of movies. When's the last time you saw a movie with a Black man who was straight, a man who actually had a woman that he loved and took care of, as opposed to being either a deadbeat dad, a brokey, or, you know, a bottom or a top? You know what I'm saying? I mean, once you see it, you can't see it. It's like, just like the Matrix. Once you get unplugged, your bliss is gone, right? So I don't know. So this is one of those kind of streams. I just wanted to flood you with some of the stuff that I see. I got another one, right? And I said this on one of my rants before about women and how disappointed I am in the women in the West. And I say women, of course, it's not all of y'all, but it's certainly not enough to stop what's going on. All right, so go ahead.
Now, all I do is work to protect the sex-based rights of women and girls.
Wow. So obviously, I mean, really, there's no one better to have this conversation with. You've seen, obviously, far longer than I have. I'm new to understanding the controversy that has seemingly consumed our country, really globally. But you've been seeing this for a long time. Even now, I saw recently where you wrote a letter, an open letter to Vice President Kamala Harris specifically. And so will you talk a little bit about this letter, what you included in this letter? Because again, I think it's something that people want to hear.
Yeah, so it was maybe just over a week ago or so. I think about this topic all the time, and I don't know exactly what made me do it, but something inspired me to sit down at my computer and type out all about how I've met Vice President Kamala Harris. Although, to be clear, there's no reason she would remember meeting me. I've met her 3 times. All encounters were very brief. So I'm not trying to claim that we're friends or anything like that, but I have met her. And I thought, all right, look, I wrote the book, The Reckoning, How the Democrats and the Left Betrayed Women and Girls, and that was published in November. And that was 2 years after I published my first book, The Abolition of Sex, How the Transgender Agenda Harms Women and Girls. And November of 2023 was obviously also 1 year before the November presidential elections this year. And my thinking and the publisher's thinking was, look, Democrats, you've got a year to get your act together, to knock it off with all this gender identity nonsense, and to get back voters on the left who are angry at you. And there are. A lot of your viewers might not be aware. There are countless rank and file Democrats, and importantly, former Democrats, who are sick to the teeth of what Democratic Party leadership is doing here. The mainstream legacy media outlets will not let you know that. They don't want Americans across the political spectrum to know that there are countless rank and file Democrats who are furious at Democratic Party leadership. So I published that book last November to say, listen, Democrats, get it together, knock it off, and get back your voters, specifically female voters, but men too. There are plenty of Democrat men who are angry at the Democrats as well, including my partner who's here right now. And that hasn't happened, right? We haven't seen it. In fact, they're just digging their heels in. We know that in April of this year, the Department of Education finalized rules under Title IX that do completely redefine sex to include so-called gender identity. So the Democrats have just doubled down. They haven't heeded the warning. So this day, about a week ago, I just thought, all right, Kamala, let's give it one last shot. And so I sat down and wrote that letter, and it explains how the Democrats are getting this so disastrously wrong. And I'm particularly irritated because, as I say in the letter, I worked very closely with the vice president's sister, Maya Harris, in Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. We were in almost daily contact. I have her personal contact information. And in May of 2019, I sent her a very long email explaining how the whole concept of gender identity throws women and girls under the bus. I also explained that it's horribly homophobic and why all the lesbians I know are very angry about it. And I didn't get a response from her, and I was not surprised, but I asked her to share the information with her sister, the vice president. I have no way of knowing whether she did that or not. But if she did, it's quite clear that the vice president knows exactly what's going on. So there are a lot of people I see frequently on Twitter X who say, oh, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are just confused. They're being advised by the wrong people. No, they know. And I know they know. And my book, The Reckoning, sets out all the reasons. I know they know. And so my letter to Vice President Harris is really a last-ditch effort to say, look, do the right thing, stand up at the DNC this month in a week or so, or a couple days maybe, and say that a woman is an adult human female.
There you go. Listen, again, do we just need more voices to come out and just say what's right, right? So there's more, and I got a couple of things that have to do with the illegal immigrants. I think you guys know enough about that already. And of course, the reparations bill we talked about, we talked about a little bit of that already in California. I mentioned that, so we can skip that. But let's just go to censorship. And we don't have to play this video either. I'm gonna just want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg and his confession that the Democratic Party went to social media in 2019 and 2020 to censor any I guess contrasting views on a whole myriad of issues. And I'm not even going to mention the most important one that was going on in 2020. And then we're finding out a lot of truths today that were true back then, but were unable to be heard. Especially one big one was the Hunter Biden laptop and how incriminating that was. And they kept that from being talked about before the election. And it might have turned the election if people would have found out that this guy was dealing behind the back illegally. The president candidate's son. And it would have been no way that Joe Biden would have been able to distance himself from that laptop, because his son was using his name to get into those doors. So I'm telling you, the grift is there, the programming is there, and all those kind of things. So I just want you to hear, I guess, clip 11. I guess BMU, if you're there, we can just go to clip 11 real quick, and I can do it if you don't want to do it. I can get it there. Get my practice in. Oh, you doing it?
Yeah, he's done with the Democrats, guys. Yep, he is officially done. That's crazy.
He made an apology.
Not that one.
Man, we knew it.
Now, I was going to just go to clip 11 with Kathy Newell. Yeah, you want me to do it? I'll do it. All right, let's see where. Let me just keep. I'm a little slower, but that's all right. So, folks out there, you see where I'm going with this, right? Let me see, Kathy.
When he was in the White House, he let me do my job. He let me be governor, make the best decisions for South Dakota. I've done nothing since Joe Biden has been in the White House except be on defense, trying to protect our freedoms and our liberties. So there's consequences to leadership, and it matters who's in the White House. And we need President Trump back there as soon as possible.
Well, the Duffy family went to South
down, raising their taxes, increasing their costs so that they can no longer cash flow and provide for their families. So listen, this is a completely different Tim Walz than what we served with, Sean. When I served with him in Congress, he cared about people having their Second Amendment rights. He cared about giving people flexibility and freedom. We sponsored legislation together. He was from a more conservative district of Minnesota, but he completely changed when he became governor. We think we saw the real Tim Walz that he has been hiding for several years. He's got ties to companies in China. You don't go to China 30 times to be a tourist, to look at the sites. You go there because you've got an affiliation with their government. You go there and you take students there to learn from them. If you think communism is the way to better protect people, which is what he truly does believe. And he's got ties to companies in China, such as the Beijing Genomic Institute, that he's funneled money to. And that company has ties to communist and CCP leaders. So, he truly is someone that wants to undermine the United States of America. We cannot trust him by putting him in the White House.
Well, you're right. He undermined the freedom of his constituents in Minnesota. But you're right. We served with him in Congress. He was a moderate guy, right? Because he had a very Republican-leaning congressional district. But when he was unleashed as a governor, we saw the true Tim Walz come out, and it was crazy. You mentioned what's going on with the CCP. I want to talk about that. So he taught in China from 89 to 90. He visited the country 30 times. He got married on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. He honeymooned in China. And to your point, he promoted Chinese communism as a teacher to his American students. So I think what this does, Governor, is it begs the question, is Tim Walz a national security risk?
Absolutely. I'm 100% convinced he's a national security risk. This man wants America to grow up and be more like China, which is the exact opposite of what our leaders should be doing. I have spent all of my time fighting China, and for 30 years, I've been working in policy on protecting our food supply, and we've seen China not only manipulate our currency, steal our IP, treat us unfairly in trade agreements. They've also spied on us. They've come in and they're taking and buying our land. I have banned them purchasing land and doing state contracts in South Dakota. The rest of the country needs to realize and wake up that we do not want a leader like Tim Walz and Kamala Harris in the White House because of how they would undermine our national security. It's a big.
Let me just stop it there. Listen, to be fair, she's a political opponent of Walz. But so you got to make up your own mind whether you feel kosher with a guy who has those kind of close ties to one of our enemies. You know what I'm saying? So I have to be fair, though, but I kind of hear where she's coming from. Nobody hangs out in China like that without, I'm just thinking Manchurian candidate. It's not so far-fetched. If you're going to China that often, It's not far-fetched to think that, somebody's got to you, and you're going to be in the White House a heartbeat away. You got the hyena, and then this guy. Come on, So anyway, listen, you guys got to make up your own mind. Listen, I know we have some time. I don't know if anybody wanted to say anything or wanted to come up, or just you don't have to come on speaker. You could be in the cloud. Anybody wants to say anything? I showed a lot. I have one more video, but that can wait to the end. But everybody's just digesting. All I'm saying is I'm biased. Hold on for a second. I'm biased. I freely admit it, right? My eyes are wide open, and I don't have any love for the fact that the elitists who run the Republican Party don't necessarily have our best interests in mind either. However, I'd rather the devil I know who I can see coming than the one who's taking me for granted, taking our vote for granted, and just giving us scraps. Yeah, I mean, in California, can you imagine the Black Caucus in California pissing in the face of all that Black constituency by not putting that reparation bill up for a vote? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much more can anybody take. I don't care if you're gonna listen, and I don't only talk to Black men, because I have no way of. I'm proud to hear more and more Black women coming out and saying, you know what, I'm not going to vote for the sisterhood this time because of whatever reason. But I'd like to see Black men decide that we no longer want to be led by anybody but ourselves. Hell with the bullshit, man. It's just time for us to stand up and do something different. I'm trying to think if we care about our neighborhoods, if we care about marriage, if we care about family, we need to wrest the government away from those people who are against that. I think that if we got rid of no-fault divorce, we made paternity testing mandatory, and we made actually passed laws to make prenups actually stand, I think more men will get married. I think more men will get married because we're the romantic ones. The women are shit. Y'all all practical. And the way it is right now, he said, I'll marry your stupid ass. Wait for my 5 years, and then when I'm tired of you, I'll dip. So men are saying no to that, especially men of means like Cam Newton and Nick Cannon. He married one woman, but she had more money than him, so he was comfortable with it. So it's an idea that time has come, and it'd be nice to see Black men standing up on their square and not being sycophants to any party or anybody like that, and voting out conscience, no matter how much the women chirp, no matter how much the Jangoites, Black male Jangoites scream. We could just do what we need to do, that the betterment for our future. Maybe that's the way we can save the community, break the demonic hold of the Democratic Party. Because I don't see Republicans going down the hood, telling everybody they're victims. They'll tell people the opposite: get off your ass and jam. That works well. When you're motivated to do your own thing, win, lose or draw, but you move, right? That's the best kind of victories, the ones that you fight for. That's been my life, So anyway, I got one more, and everybody's mesmerized and shit, because I've been talking a lot of videos today, but I wanted to go through all kinds of aspects of the things that's going on out there, and there's much more that I think if you're not aware of them, then that's as bad as well. Again, November 5th is a watershed moment, especially for Black men. If Kamala Harris gets elected and Black men do what we've done, either stay away or vote because our women told us to vote for her and all this other horse shit, we're going to deserve what we get. You know, the Democrats need to be crushed. They just do. And and I'm gonna keep saying it. And I'm, until I start hearing more and more voices there. And again, I'm biased, and I fully admit it. And so, whoever's for, Kamala, they can come up and have their own damn show and say all the shit on why they want to. But you're not gonna get none of that from our Payne. Anyway, so I got one more video for you guys, and I think it'll sum up all the stuff that we're talking about. You know, just one more, and you got, it's a real short one, and you guys can tell me. All right, so let's do this last one. Let's just do this last one. And you guys tell me some history. Well, I'm going to give you some history here.
Party defended slavery, started the Civil War, opposed Reconstruction, founded the Ku Klux Klan, imposed segregation, perpetrated lynchings, and fought against the Civil Rights Acts of the 1950s and 1960s.
I did not know that they founded the KKK. Did you know that?
I didn't know. In contrast, the Republican Party was founded in 1854 as an anti-slavery party. Its mission was to stop the spread of slavery into the new Western territories with the aim of abolishing it entirely. This effort, however, was dealt a major blow by the Supreme Court in the 1857 case, Dred Scott versus Sandford. The court ruled that slaves aren't citizens, they're property. The 7 justices who voted in favor of slavery, all Democrats. The 2 justices who dissented, both Republicans. The slavery question was, of course, ultimately resolved by a bloody civil war.
All right, so that kind of sums it up, right? We got historical precedent and everything else. She says something that a lot of people don't realize, that in 1964, the Civil Rights Act, I'm going to say it again, was held up in the Senate by the Democrats. And it took a Republican to break the filibuster in order for them to get the 2/3 majority vote to get it passed. And he got a whole bunch of other Republicans and converted a couple of Democrats, I guess, to get the 81 votes. They needed 70-something, 77 or some shit like that, but they got 81 to actually get the civil rights bill passed. So I was a Republican. It wasn't a Democrat. So that was all the way in 64. And then somehow we went from really giving the Republicans their flowers to unbridled support of the Democrats since then. Then Lyndon Baines Johnson and his deal with the Black community to make sure we can get on an equal footing, giving the Black women the deal, $3 without a man, $5 with a struggling man. Which one will you take? So I don't know, man. The programming has just been so profound, so solid, so unwavering. Here we are today. With a class divide in the Black community, and we can't even really see it. We really can't see it. Some people are just kind of blind that there's a whole bunch of Blacks being left behind. Media Man said that by the age 24, 77% of Black women have a baby. 77%. So who's betraying who? Now let's just say 10% of those women are married. I think that's a high number, but just out of wedlock. So let's just say 65%. This was a study done from 2015 to 2019. So yeah, you know what? At the same rate, only 50% of those were men, Black men. So there's a difference of like 25%. But by the age 20, it was 40% of the Black women and only 14% Black men. And Media Man has a lot of receipts when he does his numbers. So, so extrapolate that up to 2024. Maybe those numbers are a little better, but they're not much. So if I'm a man with no kids and I'm 28 years old and I'm looking for a Black woman, I got really slim pickings if I want to start my own legacy. So it's not good. And I don't want to blame that on women, but that means that's a part of the destruction that the Democrats are doing to us. because it is the liberals who champion single motherhood. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know, for you know what, and it's probably the liberals who also will, you know, I would say give Cam Newton and Nick Cannon a pass, but it doesn't seem true because those same women who are castigating them, a lot of those women are liberals. But all of a sudden, the rules apply to two men who don't want to be controlled. You know, so I don't know what to tell you. I just think we need to see change in how we think and the kind of way we live. And I think that either independence or conservatism is where we need to go, because liberalism is not working for us. It's destroying us. The whole fabric of our community is almost destroyed. Some people say it's too late, you know, so you guys figure that shit out for yourselves. But, you know, for me, the die is cast, and I cannot unsee what I've seen, you know. So that's all I have. You know, anybody have any questions? Or, you know, is everybody like, oh my God, you know, I've been videoed to death. You know, so anybody just want to say a peep? But I see you, boss man. I see you out there. How you doing? So with the last video, all I can say is, oh, who's this? Let me see something. Thanks, Slick, man. I don't know. It's just a rant, man. I had to get it off my chest. I've been talking about this thing for all year, man. So I just thought I want to do this. This particular video, I mean, this particular stream. I had a lot of videos, but I hope it conveyed a message that, you know, some of the things that we're doing, we're seeing today, was true back in Malcolm X's day, and it was more like he was a prophet, because they're still using the same game plan to trick us, right? Celebrities, rappers, talk show hosts, singers, you know, stand in line and you know what, and just do what we say. You know, so anyway, with that, we're gonna cut this stream short and just maybe do this on a replay, show it to a friend, share it with somebody and say, hey man, it was just big fat black guy just going off on the Democrats, you know, and that's fine with me. I don't care. You know, as long as the message gets out, and whether people agree with me or not, a little bit of research could say I'm not really that far off. I'm not. I just know I'm not. You know, so I'm willing to say what it takes. In my own family, I go back and forth with the people in my family as well. But I'm not backing down on this one. You know, this one, we need to do something. And if we lose in November, we still have to survive. You know, if Kamala Harris gets her ass in there by some miracle, and let me leave you with this. Everybody's saying that these races are really close. That's not what's being shown on the street. Remember, the media outlets who are saying the polls are real close, they're all in the Harris camp, right? She went from being a pariah to being a star because the media said so. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't believe them, but nobody can let up, because you never know what's going to happen in November. It's going to be interesting. And next Monday, before I leave, I'm thinking about doing a show on the case for Cam Newton and Nick Cannon, because I'm tired of seeing women just beat the shit out of these guys, and they're a product of what women want. They're a product of what women want. Maybe I'll start with Isaiah chapter 4, verse 1, and use that as my caption, right? Because women keep talking about they don't want the dusties and broke men. So here's a rich man saying, you know what? I want children, but I'm not going to trust my fortune and all those shit I work for by getting married. So a woman could decide she just walk out on me because she, you know what? I'm fully vested. You know, so, and then all of a sudden, hey, you know, these guys are not involved. Who said they're not involved with their kids? Who said that? It's not true. Well, they're not in the home. Well, you know what? A lot of working men are not in the home, but they're involved with their kids. I was involved with my kids, but I had to travel for like 10 years in a row, for this project I was on, keeping the world safe for democracy. So I don't want to hear that. My kids love me. They're grown now. So anyway, so there's a lot of horseshit being said about those two gentlemen. And I wish they would have told that lady to shut the hell up. You're 41 years old, no kid, and you're going to say you couldn't find a man who was suitable for you in all that time? This is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. You know, you maybe just unmarriageable. Anyway, that's for the next stream. But I'm saying that, but I'm thinking ahead on what I might like to say, and I'd like to argue with a whole bunch of ladies on that one, if anybody want to come up and say. But kudos to the men. Stand up, stop apologizing for who you are and what you do, and we need more black men to start doing that. Stop bowing our heads to all the bullshit that's out there about us. And because I think we make some of the best husbands. We don't leave. In my family, we have a reputation. If you marry a Payne man, you got a man for life. We don't leave. And the wives have always been better for it. We had a whole bunch of till death do us part marriages in my family, both men and women. Anyway, with that, I am going to sign off. Listen, I really appreciate the chat for listening to me drone on for like an hour and a half. You know, it needed to be said, okay? You know, if something needed to be said, and I had to say it. You know, I appreciate you, Black Man Unfiltered, for giving me this platform. And thanks for everybody listening. And I guess Grace, you're on next. Mayhem Monday. And she always has something good to say. Hopefully I didn't see the thumbnail, but I'm sure you are. Anyway, good night, everybody. Peace out.